Hi, let's talk about the IRS Audit Letter. This is where it all begins. Before you begin watching this video, please pause it and print the sample before you begin. Click on the link and then print it, and then go ahead and restart the video. When you or your taxpayer or your client is being audited, the first thing that will happen is the IRS will send out this audit letter that you are looking at now. Let's explain what kind of audits there are. There's three types. There's an IRS audit by mail, and that's where the service center or some personnel at the service center will actually examine a return. They will classify information. Let's talk about a auto repair shop on a Schedule C, for example. And they will state, okay, show me advertisement expenses, maybe rent expenses, maybe depreciation expenses. We will need to send them canceled checks, invoices, to make sure that these expenses actually belong to the business and they are ordinary and necessary expenses per Internal Revenue Code Section 162, or we can refer to it as IRC 162. Pretty much, if there is an audit by mail, it pretty much relates to expense items. Or they might also be questioning, just recently I had a client who received an audit by mail, an audit letter, and they were questioning his charitable contribution expenses. It was $4,500. We had to get a letter from the church. We needed the canceled checks to send to them, and therefore we can substantiate the expense. The second type of an audit is when you will receive a letter from a local IRS office, usually close to you, like let's assume you live in Pasadena. You might get an examination letter from either the El Monte POD, Post of Duty, the El Monte location, or maybe the Glendale location, or maybe the Van Nuys location. And on the audit letter, they will classify the information that you will need to bring in during the audit. Those are called office examiners. And the third kind of an audit is called a field exam, and that is where a revenue agent will contact you with the examination letter, and then the audit is conducted either at your place of business or your client's place of business, or even the home. So if you're representing yourself or your client, depending on the location, that's what you will discuss with the revenue agent. If you're representing your client, most of my experience has been where they would come in to my office location and we conduct the audit in my office, actually. There's two differences between office examiners and revenue agents. Office examiners in the office, usually they audit 1040s. They will audit Schedule A's, B, C, D, as well as Schedule E for rental properties. A revenue agent can audit the 1040s, 1120s, which is the corporate returns, 1065s. Most of your estates and so forth are conducted by counsel at the Internal Revenue Service. Just to let you know a little bit, just a little background about it. Let's go ahead and turn to the letter itself, and there's a sample here that you print, that you have already printed. It will tell you which office is sending it, to who, and what you need to do. And they will classify what items that they are looking at. Here, for example, we have Schedule C, gross receipts, so they want to examine the gross receipts, and that will be, we will discuss that under the bank deposit analysis, actually, at length. And then they have other expenses, truck expenses, travel, mortgage interest, depreciation, advertising. That's on the front page. So the first thing you would do is when your client, let's assume you're representing a taxpayer and they come to you and you need to represent them, number one, first and foremost, make sure you sign an engagement agreement. Make sure you get a deposit, or I sometimes ask for prepayment in full up front. You don't want to work for free, trust me. You know, if you finish an audit and it comes out really nice and dandy, you know, they'll forget about you and they don't pay you sometimes. And then make sure you get a power of attorney, whether it's a 2848 or an 8821, as discussed in the power of attorney lesson. And then go ahead and call the examiner, whether it be office exam or a revenue agent, establish a time for the appointment, and go from there. Most of the time, when a taxpayer receives an audit letter, it's what we call classified issues, usually the expense items and so forth. There's another type of an exam that takes place once in a while. It's called the TCMP, Taxpayer Compliance Measurement Program, and that's where the IRS would seek one industry. Let's say they want to audit the attorneys, and they will audit every single item on the return, just so you know. When going through an exam, it's really simple. Make sure to watch the rest of the courses that we have available, such as the expense substantiation, the bank deposit analysis, and so forth. And if you have any questions, go ahead, log into our community, ask your questions, and we will be here to assist you. The next subject that you should be looking at, let me see here. Let's turn on now to the most audited IRS code sections, and you will learn a lot there. Thanks for watching.